YouTube comments. From a video titled, What U.S. Insurance Companies Aren't Telling You. Part 4.
Jocelyn 6713 wrote,
Press should check if there's any investigation on any legal procedures on the matter and how and why they failed, besides Luigi's motivations. What path do lawyers follow to win those cases? Can the OCR intervene and clarify if those denials can be seen as discrimination based on disability based on AI criteria and assigned protocols? They made it so complicated to understand and follow. We, the people, should not keep this "such is life" attitude towards this situation.
Oxmike 718 wrote,
I'm surprised I did this video. It was just justify what that Luigi idiot did killing the family man because he was tied into an insurance company. Bad timing, Vice.
Usaturnurinus wrote,
Feel sorrow and empathy for the slain. CEO and his family? Yeah, about as much as they would feel for me if I died as a result of my legitimate claims being denied as routine corporate policy. But having said that, assassinating executives despite the tasty schadenfreude will do little to nothing to remedy our underlying problem. We need serious and lasting reform, and fast. I think we should add insurance provider oversight to the list of industries that are presently watched and regulated by high-level departments of the federal government. Like we have the FDA to keep an eye on food processing and pharmaceutical development. Why couldn't we expand those responsibilities to include direct monitoring and auditing of insurance providers to ensure they meet a set of federal guidelines? In this age of ever more powerful AI systems, and as quantum computing matures and practical applications are built, there's no reason that this could not be done. 2. And our lives are at stake here, just as much as poisonous food and ineffective drugs are a serious threat. Hell, such an oversight function, being straight-up data-driven, would likely require minimal hands-on expense to do most of the monitoring. The enforcement side might cost more, but we are talking about a growing crisis in the midst of our existing and growing healthcare crises in the wealthiest, most powerful nation on the planet. In the end, it just takes the political will to make it happen.
Whaley Khaled 7486 wrote,
Remember, you have the power to ask for a settlement. You have the power to negotiate. Hang up the phone if they do not listen. There is a reason why hospitals use these people to collect. They don't care enough about getting the money to it themselves. Stay strong.
G2 America wrote,
I can't walk because Blue Cross denied me critical surgery to prevent my spine from swelling after an accident. Needless to say, I am paraplegic for the rest of my life because Blue Cross didn't want to pay. Luigi is my hero.
Turbo 5150 wrote,
Yeah, no. I work for a property and casualty company on the underwriting side, and about 90% of this is BS. That's not how subrogation works, and every company has reinsurance coverage. They also call the other carriers, not the policy holders directly.
Discman 15 wrote,
I lasted less than 2 months at a Blue Cross call center. I had parents begging me for authorization to admit their 6-month-old infant to emergency care. I was forced to deny it because we didn't have the baby's signature on file. Lot of turnover in.
Mosty Dragonslayer wrote,
I don't need them to tell me I lived it. Some kind of head or heart condition I have had. A few years ago put me out of commission for 4 months. Just bought my first house and I lost 20K to medical expenses like that. Saw 4 neurologists, an ENT, cardiologist, multiple other PCPs, and years later have no idea what's wrong with me. The company I worked for refused to pay me any disability, even though I had disability insurance short and long term. Just this month, I got my savings back to half of what it was 2 years ago. Fun times.
At Tatiana 7008 wrote,
I worked in corporate insurance and only words they getting are how much do you want? I wasn't allowed to reject any claim in case of air crash or anything what is their fault. They never pay out of their pocket. Insurance does.
At R0S3INSA0NCR33T wrote,
One of the biggest hurdles I've seen to public support of single-payer healthcare. Americans have been duped into thinking that the amount of money they pay for medicine and treatment is actually how much it costs. We have no frame of reference for how cheap it is pretty much anywhere else on Earth.
At Mohammed 1104 wrote,
I'm sure this will get buried. Don't pay collections. Never answer the phone and acknowledge the debt or verify it to the collection company. Never pay a payment plan. Just dispute the accuracy and validity of collection charges to your credit report. Eventually, the company will get lazy and not get the required paperwork in the 30-day time frame, and automatically the debt has to be discharged.
ECMO_1525 wrote,
Man, that's sales in general. I remember I used to sell used cars at this dealership, and that's the exact same mentality the GMs and owners had. Once they drive past that curb, it's their problem now, is what they used to tell us. Yeah, I didn't last long. I wasn't about to sell someone a lemon knowingly. What happens if I see them out in public and shoot out a cur?
At Nicholas Dugganser 7523 wrote,
Does anyone have email address or social media address of people that act like they care in Congress? Something has to be done, and we need to hold politicians accountable instead of just believing all their lip service and promises. If you Trump voters didn't know before that his tariffs are going to make everything more expensive, also everyone in his cabinet is billionaires and millionaires, do you really think they care about anybody but themselves? What did Carlin say? It's called the American dream because you'll have to be asleep to believe it.
At Battis 380 wrote,
I worked at an insurance company from the US. I'm not American, and in Mexico, we provide the service for this company if there are any doubts or problems. The way they treat their users is really sad. The thing is, we cannot do much because of policies. I'm just glad I don't live there. I prefer to die naturally and not get help if I was there.
This is Fine wrote,
I broke my arm when I was a teen. It cost me nothing. I had to have my appendix removed in my 20s. It cost me nothing. I had to have sinuses surgery in my 30s. It cost me nothing. I now live with chronic illnesses, and I must see many specialists. I must go through many medical exams. All of that costs me nothing. For all my life, I've never had to deal with a private insurer aside from the one via my employer to cover for pills and other general medicine. I'm very lucky to live in Canada. Sure, we pay taxes, but the insurance nightmare of the USA is a completely foreign concept to us.
At Imawanderero Amaround wrote,
I don't think the United States will solve its problems before it collapses in upon itself. It's the puppeteered corpse of a country that was poisoned in the 70s and died in '08. Get out while you still can.
Sillytube9 wrote,
This woman was in hospice, and her sister asked me to just leave her alone. I didn't know what to do with myself. You quit. That's what you do. If someone has hired you to literally harass people, you quit that job immediately, or you're a piece of crap yourself. That is how we stop this. We start insisting on ethical behavior from ourselves first. If no one helps the insurance companies to hurt other people, they simply won't be as effective at doing that. NON compliance with evil is everyone's duty.
At Michael Johnson, ZQ5RV wrote,
I worked for an insurance company for about a week to a month, and most of our training focused on how to deny claims, convince people they don't need medical treatment, or select the cheapest doctor. I quit on the spot because I morally couldn't do it.
At Brucey and Cremina 9241 wrote,
Profit before people. Money is the root to all evil. Must get that money as much money as you can as quick as you can money.
At Vada Mineral 1337 wrote,
I've been aware since 2008. That was when my parents started complaining about it. Ever since, I've been keeping tabs on the price of all kinds of insurance. It's not just healthcare. Auto and home insurance has also gone up too. Last I checked, auto insurance was a requirement for driving a vehicle.
At Jajabinks 8419 wrote,
There is a stirring in American society. Can you feel it? The days of treating people like piggy banks and not human beings is starting to come to an end.
At LM Lewis wrote,
For years, politicians, media, and corporate executives have promoted psychopathy as a norm, even a value, in American life, while disparaging real values like empathy, generosity, and service to others. It's not just one CEO or one company or even one industry. It's the elite establishment.
At Kickaman 780311 wrote,
Bro, you're not disguising cyber terrorists. This is an insurance whistleblower. Enough with the masks. I can't understand them and my vision is impaired to read the subtitles.
At Go to Sync Control wrote,
For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. 1 Timothy 6:10.
At Frito Manguns 3231 wrote,
This is propaganda. Through and through. This is hot garbage that is not accurate, put out by Vice, the IG shocker there. Right out the gate, the only thing they do is just paint everyone as greedy. They don't even actually talk about what is special. I also doubt this person worked Subro. This is what subrogation really is, and in many states your company is legally required to subrogate. One insurance company pays for an event that happens. The person they insure is not responsible for the event. They are just a victim here. They then contact the insurance carrier or carriers if excess liability is needed of the person responsible. Again, they are often legally required to do this.
At IFA 2687 wrote,
I like the idea of this video. You should get a more prepared person that is willing to go more in depth on the scummy tactics they use. While this person's story is valid, it's almost like she is saying absolutely nothing at all and just hitting on points most people would agree with.
The CTA wrote,
Screw this series if you ain't finna reveal herself. Its FWITB could just be spewing BS. What an amazing coincidence this comes out on the heels of Luigi Mangione.
At Carol Allison 9685 wrote,
Why do we keep ignoring the actual cause? In order to pass the Affordable Care Act, Congress promised to pay insurance companies the money they would be losing. The mandates would have put all of the insurance companies out of business. Well, they were only paid 12% the first year, and then the U.S. government just stopped paying what they promised. Of course, this was going to happen. It's either the cost went way up or insurance companies go out of business, and we have no insurance. Before the AXIA, I was working as a customer service rep for AT&T at a call center. My insurance for me and 2 kids was only $60 a month, and I had a $10 copay. Now my insurance is $500 a month, and the copay is $35. My husband is a government employee, and this is the only reason it isn't astronomical like it is for most other people. This is what happens when a government wants universal health care but doesn't want to be responsible for universal health care. You can't contract out something like universal health care, and you certainly can't privatize it. Can you imagine if the government just stopped paying the companies they contract out to run prisons or the defense contractors? What about contractors who run our utilities or fix our roads? Doing stupid, irresponsible crap like this will destroy a country. So if you want someone to be mad at, go be mad at your lawmakers. Stop letting them get away with this crap. Or, better yet, if you really want someone to be mad at yourself if you voted them. There's a reason conservatives were not happy about the AXIA, but liberals are too goddamn emotional to use logic and common sense. Now all of us are suffering. Stop being a bleeding heart. We live in a fiat economy. We can't afford to be bleeding hearts.
As Steve 293 wrote,
With PTSD and a terrible addiction to alcohol during my early 20s, I've gone through alcohol poisoning twice, and each time I remember shouting to not call the ambulance. I don't know where to laugh because I'm alive.
At Balticati wrote,
I wonder how many psychopaths are made such by their medications for depression or anxiety. That's the hopeful explanation I have for accounts of people financially destroying other people for sport.
At Neon Shadow Z wrote,
With that dying lady. He would have just told the sister, I had no idea. No, I told me, and now I am just as angry as she is, en que no posible dejar me calling her dying relative and harassing her.
I would have then take that out on my boss and quit.
But keep in mind, it's not just the companies. It's those who keep working for them.
At Iphigenia Gakudi 6465 wrote,
Looking at USA from the outside, it doesn't look like the best country in the world. It looks like a tyrannic dystopia in internal affairs and a tyrannic bully in international affairs.
At Yohanai Dravo the Human wrote,
Once I had a medical procedure done, and when talking about insurance, the doctor looked me in the eyes and said, the job of the insurance company is to not pay for this. And that was my introduction to the system.
At PseudoBeast 4653 wrote,
I'm hoping this incident with Luigi opens the eyes of the American people to the fact that this is not just a matter of corruption and evil in the healthcare industry, but that it is enabled by the ruling class that runs this country. One CEO is only a small part of the problem. This is not Republican versus Democrat. This is class warfare.
At WAC 3 Order wrote,
What's disgusting is the projected growth for an established market like weed that I'm told we have to grow year over year, even though the industry as a whole is down 20% from previous years, yet I'm told we can get back to COVID number if we just upsell. My fucking store owners are nuts. It's not about growth, it's about maintaining your community, figure out what you can make from the community and maximize that. 20k people aren't just going to magically up and move here just to shop at a store every fucking year. That 1 year your store doesn't grow or falls flat, you're looked at as failing as a manager, it's fucking nudes. The owner's already making millions.
At Jimidian 22 wrote,
So he doesn't really work for the insurance company making decisions on claims. It sounds like he was in collection for subjugation. which I am not 100% understanding. If the responsible party has insurance, you go after the company. Otherwise, you sue, settle, say there is no money there.
At Victor 256 in wrote,
This is worse than the Russian and Ukrainian mafia or the cartels in Mexico. Straight up murderers and thugs. What a shame. And the media MSM is totally complicit.
Acadianic 4113 wrote,
It'll never change because people continue buying health insurance. These companies own the government, so they won't be legislated into being more ethical. The more time we spend blaming and empowering these companies, the more disempowered and fearful we become, which makes us even better customers for them, because stress and fear make us physically ill and more risk-averse. If everyone woke up tomorrow and felt completely comfortable with the idea of their own death, the world would change dramatically and rapidly. The moment you stop worrying about dying is the moment you begin to actually live.
At Connor Williams 769 wrote,
One of the lowest points of my life. Right. After you called a lady who was in hospice harassing her for money, as you admitted. Look, I get that these people aren't part of the corporate sector of the company. They don't make the rules, but if my employer relayed to me that my job would consist of outright verbally harassing the poor, sick, and dying, I'd tell them to choke and make society a better place. In short, don't follow rules that call for the misery of the less fortunate.
At Frankly XE4MG wrote,
Whenever I see ads on entertainment sponsored by a healthcare company, I get really mad. It's not about saving lives and making a living. It's about insane profits and ego.
At Sadruddin Badruddin wrote,
My wife is a physical therapist, and according to her, insurance companies and doctors would almost always rather recommend surgery over PT because it makes them more money, even though in many cases PT is the easier, more effective, and cheaper solution for the patient. The amount of patients she has that have had issues with pain pills after surgery before coming to her is insane. I'm sure the pills make money too.
At Alderance Ranger wrote,
I broke my ankle recently and needed surgery. I made my friend take me to the VA, and the Phoenix VA refused to operate, so the local hospital did the surgery. I got lucky as the surgeon was a former Marine, and he did a good job. I didn't have to pay anything, but I saw how much everything cost. From the ambulance ride, between hospitals, the surgery and stay for 3 days. And the drugs they gave me plus aftercare came to $52,000. The VA wrote them a check for $17,000 and called it good.
Thunga wrote,
Something to think about. In Germany, the first law to establish public health insurance for industrial workers was passed 141 years ago under Bismarck. Public health insurance was made universal by the Nazis in the middle of World War II. Maybe our own Nazis will do the same? I'd pass on World War II though.
At Smith Marset 2721 wrote,
Subrogation occurs when your insurance company pays for an accident, then works to recoup expenses from the at-fault driver's insurer. Did you think that the people that were called were claimants? It's not how Vice draws it up at all. F insurance companies and F Vice for their usual garbage.
A Yes Please wrote,
When they said that they can never have enough. It made me think how that's capitalism in a nutshell. Capitalism is gonna destroy our world. Let's hope it's for the better.
At Rihanna 9523 wrote,
I really wish you Americans would come together and start standing up to these corrupt companies. Instead of commenting your frustration or that something needs to be done online, take action.
At Richard Not Your Mama's Channel wrote,
Looking at the big picture, I see what the problem is in this country. Instead of the peasants rising up together to fight for change, the peasants are simply turning on each other, which means that things aren't gonna get better. Things will just keep getting worse.
At Morpheus 3140 wrote,
Yeah, you have to quit the job when they high-five you over someone crying. Then you talk to your DR about it and puts you on meds to make you a zombie.
At The Truth 2509 wrote,
Insurance companies are simply thinly veiled financial institutions. An atheist would turn into a believer dealing with these devils. And the insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies are in a competition to see who can bribe the politicians, thus getting away with the most damage.
At Sid Parrott 8552 wrote,
Disgusting. Corporate systems are tyrannical structures by nature, and it's sick that we allow these parasites to make profits in this way. Red Scare propaganda works so well in this country that many people believe that nationalized healthcare is worse/communist, even though every other industrialized nation has some form of it. The for-profit healthcare industry needs to be abolished.
Crave Tacos wrote,
The US is the most pathetic country on earth. We supposedly are a country of excess, and yet we can't even afford to give people in need a chance to live. Literally.
At Jimbo 0386 wrote,
Gained a newfound respect for Vice for actually deciding to report on this instead of doing what every other agency is doing and acting like everyone's crazy for disliking the insurance complex and its abusive higher-ups.
At Aaron Ellis 6323 wrote,
Oh, the American nightmare. As a medical professional and, more importantly, patient advocate, I will always fight for what's right. Shocker. Craziness oftentimes applies to medical insurance as well.
At Louise LeBeau 6643 wrote,
Last April, I had a fall in my backyard that ended in needing stitches, went to the ER. 2 weeks later, I get the first communication from my insurance carrier asking for the information of the persons responsible for my injury. Filled out the form outing myself as the clumsy idiot responsible, figured that was it. Then the phone call started. Where was I really when the accident happened? Who was I protecting? I'm a 60-year-old with a previous stroke and have trouble with one leg. It was my fault on my property, but they sure did want a name they could charge for what they had to pay out.
Kangio wrote,
American people, when do you wake up and take control of your own future? Why do you let big corporate companies take your life? Politicians need to do something.
At Blue Outrun wrote,
This is very similar to a friend's story of mine who also worked in insurance. She was often just the messenger, but had to take regular breaks because the mental toll was so high. One story really stuck with me about an elderly man having to choose between his home and his wife's medication, and she had to tell him the insurance denied him coverage. They were old, retired. The man just didn't want to choose between his wife and being homeless. He had insurance. It's horrifying.
At Jonathan Garcia 5349 wrote,
I appreciate the honesty and most of the presentation. But if you're recording the camera that's capturing the interview, it really cheapens the information you're trying to relay out.
At Nazgul 100 wrote,
Jo can be taught to become a psychopath in industries like this in Core and Fosterset. We need to remove these industries for the sake of our shared humanity.
At Nverndingzimmer wrote,
RIP the entire system down until there is absolutely nothing left, and just start over. For-profit healthcare is rotten to its very core and is not worth saving. No person should die a preventable death in what is supposed to be the richest and most powerful country in the world. If we all just paid the cost of universal healthcare through our taxes, then no one would ever be denied help A&D, we'd all be paying less. This is ridiculous.
At Adam Kalb, one wrote,
I hate that jobs can exist where you are supposed to be cruel to people, even if they are insured and do not have to pay that much. Ignorance is not an excuse. You cannot ignore their insurance data for your own benefit, and it is sad and depressing that any business is allowed to have such a corrupt pay structure, where you have to scam people just to get paid, and being a decent person gets you punished for not getting their money. December 26, 2024, 3:48 p.m.
Pain. Incarnate wrote,
I used to hate Canadian healthcare. 15 hours in the ER for a chest x-ray, blood tests, and EKG heart attack scare. But my bill was only 45 Canadian dollars. I'd take 15 hours or a month of waiting for an appointment over medical bankruptcy any day. But the countries that have it best in healthcare, like Korea/Japan/Thailand, show that a mixed private-public system can work effectively. We need a good balance so the system doesn't bankrupt people or cost absurd amounts, while also not delaying their care or overwhelming the system to the point of collapse.
At Lane Rice 4012 wrote,
Health insurance is inherently a scam. There's no sugarcoating that. There's no spin to put on that. The fact that America legalized that scam and then proceeded to force the entire country to accept it tells you who owns America. There is no conspiracy, no hidden danger we can't see. The danger, the threat, is right in front of us. Has been this entire time.
Jariel wrote,
You know where else this behavior appears? Car dealerships that have BDC agents calling, and they're encouraged to lie to get people in for appointments. It's not just bosses, it's the community/workplace too. Think about it all. What are we all nurturing around us? What are we all encouraging? Everything has an effect.
At Alex Reyes 8749 wrote,
If you are in a company that does terrible things, record it with your phone. Buy something that has a built-in hidden camera. Take photos of documents. If a news source won't publish what you found, post it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. This video lacked the company, people who did this, dates, physical evidence, video evidence, audio recordings, a hint or clue to go off of.
At Melissa Wilson wrote,
WOW, subrogation hits mainstream. Subrogation isn't a bad thing because that money is owed, and the subrogation company is a vendor of the insurance company or a department within the insurance company. Excluding the department, the subrogation company law firm or a third-party debt collector executes the vendor agreement with the insurance company. It sucks, but it's legal.
Hadrian Orion wrote,
Marveling at how anyone can take this testimony seriously. This person obviously has a myopic viewpoint, a personal vendetta, and a grotesque vocal fry. Just another useful idiot.
A Soup of Shame wrote,
Beg for approval of health insurance and repeatedly am denied, and even though I qualify, because I can't afford all the paperwork and doctors to back me. I've come to terms with the fact I will never get help from the government, even though I need it not because of migrants or minorities, but because of the rich that hoard wealth. And you expect me to respect the American government? Sure.
At Ostegonation wrote,
I had back surgery in 2016 to take out part of a disc that had ruptured into my spinal cord and made it so that I couldn't walk. I had to fight with that insurance company for 8 months while unable to walk. I've been fighting with them for about a year now to get an MRI to see what's going on because the pain is coming back. 2 days after Luigi snuffed out that CEO, I was approved, and I'm having an MRI on the 3rd. Luigi did in one day what all of the corrupt politicians and CEOs haven't done in decades.
Ejoke Hill 1994 wrote,
To any future generations that may go through this comment thread, I want to say that there are many of us who are disgusted by our current healthcare system for a variety of reasons, and are also sickened by what this obviously mentally unbalanced lunatic did and see him as nothing more than a cold-blooded killer.
At Alphansorquides 8871 wrote,
See, this is why a lot of folks don't answer the phone unless it's from a known number. If it's important and legit, folks won't mind leaving a message. That's in the case they don't text first anyway, as is the case for most. If it's anybody else, they can talk to Lenny. www.youtube.com.
At Justin Dedinato 9344 wrote,
Not gonna lie, the companies themselves are certainly an issue. But if you work for a company like this, you don't have to put up with that bullshit. The employees can rise up and force a change of payment structure. It's a lack of backbone and character by individuals. I do find a new job very quickly if this is what I was forced to do. I wish people had spines these days. Disgusting human beings.
A commentator 541 wrote,
Is this person complaining they had a chance to make money and make a great living for themselves? Is that the complaint? Not like she was doing it for $300 somewhere in the Philippines.
At Romney's Gonzalez wrote,
Receiving health care is a fundamental right. Health services are ONTHE Constitution. THEGOV need TO guarantee access to health services. Healthcare must be free for everyone. What are citizens who pay taxes supposed to do? Dying? Privatizing the healthcare industry should be labeled as a violation of the Geneva Convention and a violation of fundamental human rights.
At Lady But Stuff wrote,
One of the very few benefits of living below the poverty line W/0 savings is these people can't touch someone like me. You want money. What money?
At Anon 8329 wrote,
Why is this being shown in a wordless sensationalist YouTube video instead of being reported to a real investigatory organization that can affect change? This is unactionable BS.
At Lena Solheim 3321 wrote,
This is abhorrent. This is disgusting. This is vile. I don't have any other adjectives to use for this kind of practice. Not only are insurance companies screwing their customers over, they are also causing complete demographic collapse by killing off anyone who can't pay, meaning less humans to pay taxes or contribute to the workforce. This is oligarchy. This is hell.
At Kinejardine 9009 wrote,
Thanks, Reagan. Yeah, unchecked capitalism is great for the handful of people at the top. What is this, the Middle Ages? I thought the US fought to free itself from the tyranny of kings, yet here are these oligarchs sitting on their thrones, whipping their serfs to make them more money. Nothing has changed. Democracy is a lie until the rich and powerful have to live with the same kind of uncertainty and fear as the rest of us do.
At Non Sequitur 415 wrote,
Americans are all mad now. Who out of any of you are even asking, much less demanding healthcare accessibility from Trump? The guy you voted in, or Biden for the rest of you? Yeah, no squeaky wheel, no grease. Add that to the long list of reasons I don't live in that country anymore. There are many great people in America, but you guys are too divided and distracted to accomplish any damn thing. And that's where I'm coming from with my comment. Sorry.
At Engine Zero wrote,
Sadly, if we don't address doctor/hospital pay, we can't reduce costs. Insurance companies are a big part of the problem too, but doctors get rich too, owning multiple houses and boats and all kinds of crap.
The Square Blocks wrote,
I bought insurance for the first time in my life this year. I have 3 days to renew it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel everything. Waste of money.
Adalthorn wrote,
Luigi did the morally and ethically correct action in a system which is so beyond broken in the country that we quite literally are having no choice but to hope for more. Luigi's brave enough to do the only thing that has had any result.
At Carol Robert 282 wrote,
You work for 42 years to have $2 million in your retirement. Meanwhile, some people are putting just $20K in a meme coin for just few months, and now they are multi-millionaires. I pray that anyone who reads this will be successful in life.
At user UR3GR2QS6I wrote,
It's like this everywhere. Canada is just as bad. The banks are thieves, too. My father died almost a decade ago, and they won't release some of his accounts. They send letters and letters asking what we want done with the funds, and then ignore us. All the while, they take fees every month, and the amount is less and less. My dad didn't work and save so a fucking bank could have it when he died. Never get insurance, it never pays. And empty your accounts if you're on hospice before they find out. Then stop answering the phone. Debt collectors have no actual power except to guilt and harass, though they will threaten to repo your stuff. Just delay, defer, deny the phone call. Fight fire with fire. Fun fact: unless you owe money on the loan you got from a dealership for a car or a mortgage, they can't legally repo anything. Only summons to court you ignore. Get a dog if anyone is dumb enough to come over. Deny having a dog at all.
At Ant 8673 wrote,
Right. Well, look at what we in the US have in our food compared to Europe. It makes sense that we have detrimental additives here because we have to pay for health insurance first over in Europe. It's supplied by the government. There is zero motivation for our government to protect us. We will all eventually be paying into the system because of that. Hopefully, RFK changes that, but we will see.
At Jackson Chambers 5034 wrote,
They wouldn't cover my appendectomy. I ended up owing over $100,000. United wouldn't cover it. Jaimel subo e centro y flesión. They would not cover my appendix, trying to explore and kill me. Rest in peace. Den Prudencia 26 llamada. Nafure los hombres de ella la rellenad unas pecada faso, para un gran gruesa madre de con todo mostrar pero.
Seth Bingo wrote,
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1, and if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food, it's about keeping those ants in line.
At Aldo Laguna 7126 wrote,
The tenets of capitalism are wrong. We can allow capitalists, but tightly controlled. Only ignorant people, whom capitalists have subjugated for generations, would allow for such a terrible society, such that exists in the USA, where strode towns across the USA are mirrors of each other, controlled by corporate capitalism. With chain stores stretching coast to coast for mindless consumers to mindlessly overconsume inferior products.
Ed Luzin wrote,
You, living in US, do realize that the rest of the developed world have solved those problems? That there is a solution, but you are so brainwashed that you oppose to any regulations and public health care because it's communism?
At Bretman Rick 4854 wrote,
Not hard to see why the common people are tired of this corrupt filth permeating itself throughout society and are looking to swiftly end it, one way or another. Since those at the top use lobbyists to tweak things in their favor and maintain an evil status quo.
At Basically Alandershowitz wrote,
While the insurance industry has debt collections. What a horror. This video is honestly embarrassing compared to others in the series. Many property insurance companies, especially at the state level, run net losses in a given year. Collections are the only tool they have to stay profitable besides dropping clients at renewal, which gives you California.
Penn the Mighty wrote,
If an insurer denies your claim for life-saving treatment when it's clearly meant to be covered under your policy, you should be able to get back every single penny. It's fraud, pure and simple. I'll bet the insurance companies would change their ways if their bottom line was genuinely under threat.
At Roy Mustang 877 wrote,
Even paying for every necessary bills from all these clients. Healthcare still on will be in massive benefits. It's the case in Europe. But you know, the greed of capitalism.
At Why Did He Ausmaname wrote,
Hey, 2 minutes in, I'm sure I helped anger these debt collectors almost 20 years ago. Man, I'd keep them on the phone while knowing I'd wait 7 years for it to drop off. I used to tell them my work was bum fights, and that was how I ate.
At Kirby Stickthers wrote,
This is real journalism. Actually reaching out to the people. Actually hearing what we're saying and listening. And not even just that, but sharing the voices so often silenced in mainstream media.
At Smoky Thingler 8387 wrote,
Dear Vice, do not allow your anonymous people to use their hands and arms to talk. It's one of the top 3 ways to figure out who someone is. Body language with talking is very person to person. Not many people are the same.
At 75700 Neo wrote,
I'm from Sweden, and here we have for everyone, Sweden is not a communist country, and I don't see myself as a socialist. But a country's first priority has to be their citizens' well-being, regardless of personal income. I had an accident in Thailand. I worked there some years. I had personal health insurance, 306 months full coverage from Sweden. I guess that's not expensive if compared to the US. To my surprise, after my treatment for a broken ankle was 30 baht. $8. The US, they say, is a rich country. I guess wealth can be measured differently.
At Alec Trap 9820 wrote,
I don't answer my phone unless the number is saved. I'm expecting a call with a certain area code, or a voicemail is left. Always remember this. YOUDONOT need TOPY your medical bills. ITIS illegal TO send your medical information TO a third party.
At Arvindiner 8976 wrote,
This is what is called being a Schreibtischtäter or desk murderer. It's nothing new. It's what the Nazis did, and just like the Nazis, these companies have created a bureaucracy of murder.
At Davey 99 wrote,
I don't know anything great the US is actually responsible for. Like nature and natural parks tech are, but that's due to simple act of not screwing something up and taking a moment to breath.
At SD Chick wrote,
Same number as claimant, YES. I got hundreds of calls for the previous owner of my phone number who had wound up in the crapper for some financial issue. They shouted and bullied me every which way and asked if I knew where she went. I just stopped answering any calls and left my phone on silent.